It's Kaedy Kiely with my good buddy Melissa Ruggieri from AJC.com. And we are talking to somebody that we're both big fans of, Will Turpin from Collective Soul, and a new solo album coming out June 8th. Am I right on the date?
That's right. Friday, June 8th.
I loved listening to this.
It's
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you. I'm glad to
Serengeti
be
Drivers.
Here. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you too. But tell us, we were both reading about it's taken you quite a while to get this album together.
Well, obviously I get a little busy here and there with Collective Soul. But yeah, I think most of these songs were written about 3 or 4 years ago, and so the last 3 years I've been working pretty hard consistently when I've got time to finish up the record.
And you have actually a little inside on a studio. Are you using your
Yeah,
dad's studio?
Reel to Reel is still kind of my home studio for sure, which is the spot on the south side of town that Collective Soul came from. And
Tell us about that studio before we even really kind of get into your new music. Tell us about your being brought up by a man
Right.
that was obviously involved with music.
yeah, my father, he was actually signed to Atlantic Records in the late '60s, and he opened a recording studio in the basement of what would have been his father's home in Henry County when he was elected superintendent in 1959.
Oh my gosh, you come by this honestly.
The lumber was delivered by rail. I mean, it's old school stories, but my father decided to start a studio there in the basement, and he built it out himself and raised a family on a studio, as difficult as that can be. But yeah, that's where, in that small town, that's where we all the original guys in Collective Soul gravitated towards that spot. Ed is obviously a little older than me. We watched him.
Why, obviously?
Well, I mean, I
know that was cute.
Good question.
He might not want to know that it's that obvious.
But yeah, we watched when we were younger. We watched Ed hone his craft there at my father's studio, and that's where that was the meeting spot. We all had kind of a like mind. We enjoyed the same music, the stuff from the British invasion, whether it was Elton John or the Beatles, to the stuff we were listening to in the '80s. We all enjoyed and liked the same things. So
Where'd you go? Did you go to the same school?
we all went to Stockbridge High School, which is now Stranger Things movie set or TV set.
That's right.
Isn't that something?
yeah.
It's really a trip when I watch that show. Like, they left the office exactly the same. They kept the school colors so they wouldn't have to paint as much. It's really
That's
a trip.
really cool.
And I was in the office a lot.
What kind of a student were you? Because you dabble in so much. You're such an interesting
So from
person.
my perspective, what kind
Yes.
of student was
Yeah.
I? Perfect student, a great personality, smart. I mean, of course.
Were you a wise guy? Were the teachers like?
I did get some laughs, and then some of them didn't think things were as funny as I did. But yeah, I was definitely a little smart ass, but not in a negative way. I was trying to be funny.
What did you want to do when you were back at school then? What were you thinking?
Well, it's kind of like we were in bands in high school. Me and Shane and Ross. 10th grade, we had a band. The first band we were in was called Mirage, and we did the old phonetic spelling. Remember in the '80s when everything was
Yes.
little dashes and like.
Or Def Leppard.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably
It's kind of
exactly
like rappers
where
do
we
it
got
now.
from.
Like, look at Nicki Minaj. I mean, really,
Right.
they might have gotten that from your band Mirage.
No, I doubt that.
So how'd you spell it?
That was MI-RAZH.
Ooh.
Mirage. I mean,
You
how
gotta be
cool,
kidding me.
right?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's great.
But like I said, my father. I was around instruments. My first instrument was piano, and then I was a drummer for the longest time, and everything was always music with me. I remember being 14, 15 years old, and on Saturdays, I would do songwriter demos in my father's studio. I remember a couple guys thinking, "That's the drummer for the thing," and like taking my dad off to the side room. This is your son, right? He's 15. I don't know about hiring this guy. And then everything would always work out, man. So
Wow.
that's all I've done my whole life. And then when I committed to Collective Soul, I'd never really even. I knew the fretboard. I started playing guitar when I was 13, but it was about chemistry and understanding Ed's songwriting style as well as I did. So I committed and bought a bass, and
you kind of learned it yourself then.
but I think of when I hear music and I play music, no matter what instrument I'm on, I'm visually seeing a keyboard in my head.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you come about that. But yeah, I didn't there was a technical learning curve as far as playing these big fat strings on a bass fretboard, but other than that, it's music, and I kind of look at it all the same no matter what instrument I'm on. So.
And there is a percussiveness about the bass, obviously.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
keeping the beat, right?
Me and Shane were on the drum line together, right next to each other.
You were? That's what I was
going
to say. What'd you
right
play
next
in
to each other,
school?
playing snare. We had each other's style and vibe down from the beginning. That was always there.
That's so great.
Well, you talked about these songs have sort of been in the works for a few years while the album's been kind of back on the back burner, depending on what was going on with Collective Soul. But what did you want to accomplish these songs and make them different from Collective Soul? I mean, like, are you always sort of thinking about, this isn't going to work for the band, but this might work for me, and eventually I'll get there with this album?
I show some ideas to Ed or Dean sometimes when I think it might kind of lend itself to a Collective Soul tune. But for the most part, when I sit behind a piano or Rhodes, I know that they're not Collective Soul vibe. And so, yeah, it's always, for me, it's the whole solo career or solo album. I don't know exactly what I really want out of that. I just know that I feel like these songs are strong enough that people are going to want to hear them and they're going to want me to share them. So that's kind of really the inspiration for me. Really, it's not like I want to break out a Collective Soul and have a solo solo career.
So there was no hurry then, right?
Right, and you guys all do separate things. I mean, it has Sweet Tea, and Dean has had some
Magnets
some
and
solos,
Ghosts.
Magnets and Ghosts, and has something else coming out too. So
we don't think about it as something that's taken away from Collective Soul. It's our thought and our idea that it makes Collective Soul stronger to go out and create outside of the Collective Soul realm. Go find yourself in a different creative atmosphere, and then when we come back to Collective Soul, we're all stronger because of it, and it kind of helps our whole synergy.
I noticed that. I noticed because one of our friends is the head of Red Light Management, and so I noticed that you use this, which I think that's brilliant. I think that's really cool that it is encouraged that you do your own thing and that there isn't any animosity about that.
It makes us stronger in the end. That's what we feel.
And what keeps you going back to Collective Soul? What is it about?
That's still there. That we just finished recording some more stuff for out. It'll be out next year, which will be 25 years for Collective Soul.
That's crazy.
That's
Oh my
really
gosh.
big,
It really is.
That's really crazy.
Is it sort of an anniversary type thing, or is it just new music?
It's new music, and we've done over 20 tunes. So we don't know exactly how we're gonna put that out there, but it's basically a double album. But yeah, what gets us going is like, when we get together, it's still there. That feeling, that magic, it's still literally as good as it was in '95, and that's what drives you as a band and as a musician and as an artist.
Does everybody kind of have equal input, or is there, in other words, how does it work where everybody is happy with it?
Well, everybody's definitely got their role and their strengths that we know how to. We definitely know. Let's use Dean's idea here, or Johnny, on drums. He's so good. But I mean, it's Ed's lyrics and Ed's songwriting, the melodies he comes up with are absolutely amazing, and it's really easy to build songs around the ideas he comes up with. I say it a lot. I mean, I think he deserves to be considered amongst the best songwriters of our time.
Well, what have you learned from him as a songwriter? Because a lot of these songs on your album are very
this album.
catchy, poppy. I mean, and the melodies behind them, kind of evoke almost a Collective Soul type thing, but a little more soul, seems like.
Yeah, I think there's a little more funky R&B to my style, especially behind the piano. Being around Ed so long and being part of Collective Soul, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what the influence or what I've gotten from being around him, but it's certainly there. I know on a song, there's a song called Those Days on Serengeti Drivers. Happens to be Ed's favorite, and that was the one I actually kind of thought sounded a lot like Ed's songwriting, without ripping him off. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recorded it. Because I have done that before, too. Like, recorded an idea, then the next morning I'm like, oh, that's a lot like this other song.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so Those Days, I feel like that one was kind of definitely, without hanging around Ed all these years, that song, that melody wouldn't have sounded the same.
And I really liked Belong. Sounds like kind of Chicago-y. I thought
There's so many different references people say.
to it.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I mean, but with the horn section, I mean, obviously
Right.
you were going for a certain sound, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the horn line melody, and I first just sang it and documented the melody. And the idea with Serengeti Drivers was to definitely go back and lean on friends and other musicians that I've been around. All these guys, there's 16 different artists on that,
Yeah.
or players on that record. All of them I've known. I mean, I think all of them I've known now 2 decades, 20 years.
Wow.
So the horn guys are buddies of mine back from Georgia State School of Music. And that was just cool to get them in there.
And were you thinking that when you were writing it? Were you going?
That one I kind of, like I said, I wrote it and I documented the idea with a vocal. But yeah, after a while, I'm like, okay, these are horns, and I'm calling Joe Granson and I'm calling Wes Funderburk, and they're gonna do it for
That's
me.
great. That's really cool. And they must have been honored to do it. I love the Faith, Hope, and Love, or Faith, Hope, Love. The opening of that was like, whoa. I mean, there are singles all over this.
Yeah.
Songs that are
Thank
just,
you.
it could be on the radio, which is something that I have to ask you about, because I was at 96 Rock when you guys first came out. We were so proud of you, because it's like, it's a Georgia band. They're
No,
from
we did
Stockbridge.
feel that pride that
Well, you
everybody
had to.
Yeah.
We were just, and the music was so different. You guys are not like anybody, right? But those were the days. Those were the days where the DJ could even say, "Hey, I like this song on that side, and I'm going to play it." And now, for you to get your music out there, is it? I mean, and what I love about the company that I work for now is they're like, talk to your friend. You know, whatever I could do to get the word out for you, I want to do. But as far as being able to play things on the radio, it's hard.
Right.
And for Collective Soul, I know that was very important. What do you think about that?
With
in these days.
Serengeti Drivers, or just how the industry's changed.
Just in general, I
Oh my
guess, even for
gosh.
new
I mean,
Collective Soul.
Collective Soul has seen the evolution here. I mean, the first records they still made cassettes of our first ones.
Yeah.
Isn't
and
that
so,
something?
Yeah. So we watched the monster labels, and we were signed to Atlantic. We watched the monster labels kind of have to morph and downsize, and you know, what's this Napster thing? And
Oh my gosh,
oh, you
yeah.
can stream music for free, and we watched it all. And then, and you know, when we started touring, there wasn't even. I mean, I don't want to sound archaic here, but we didn't have cell phones in '94. It was very soon after that we had the blue Nokia was my first one.
The car phone, like
Yeah.
the big thing in the car.
There was one of those.
I
on the,
didn't
there
have
was
that.
one of those on the tour bus.
Yeah.
We did have one of those.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. But
Isn't that crazy?
man, you could talk about the evolution of how this technology has affected our industry for a long time, but it's very interesting, and it's just different. For me, it's just different ways to go about it. There's still even more now, even more opportunities for artists to get out there. It's just there's a lot of it now because there's so much. So I still think the cream eventually rises to
rise,
the
yeah.
top,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
but there's a lot, you know.
Well, and also, I mean, you guys, Collective Soul tours pretty
you
relentlessly,
do.
and that's also really the only way of making any money anymore. I mean, as far as streaming and things, someone can listen to a Collective Soul hit 9 billion times, and you're going to get 9 cents out of it, pretty much, right? Am I wrong?
It's a little bigger than that.
29 cents.
It's a little bigger than that, but yeah, and now those revenues are starting to come through. They started
Mm-hmm.
to come through about 5 years ago. Okay, now we're not giving it away. There's some mailbox money there with the streams, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like it's a percentage of a penny per stream, you know.
Oh gosh.
But
amazing.
collecting pennies can add up.
You're right. You're
So-
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're embracing it. We do what we can and embrace it. Get it.
Is
out
there anything about with this record that you, knowing that people are going to download so much, or even when you're doing New Collective Soul, that you think about the way when you're recording it, that it may not be heard as precisely as vinyl, or what? Is there any
We
difference in the
still
way you do that?
definitely like to make sure we press the record and do a vinyl
Mm-hmm.
actual album. Nah, I mean, we don't really think about it. We don't really analyze that too much. We just record, do what feels right, and then the fans kind of do the rest. You know.
What
What
about
about
song order though? Because
That's fun to.
you know, I mean,
Figure out
in
why
the
you
old
picked-
days,
Yeah.
there was always the flow that you wanted to
Yeah.
get, but now, you know, you go online, everybody's just going to cherry pick the 2 songs they want to hear. So is there still, like, were you cognizant of that when you were doing
Absolutely, I still think the flow is important.
Mhm.
I know when I came up with that one, I felt really good about it the moment I kind of laid it out, and I felt really good about the flow. I think it was definitely like 1 a.m. and I was into a few beers or something, but it was helping me get that right headspace, and I think it worked out. But same thing with Collective Soul. I mean, the order matters, the flow matters. So.
And then what about recording an album and then thinking about playing it live later? When you're talking about horns, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are they
Are you going to do your voice?
For now, I'm just going to mock the parts, and I might sing them. But I want to play some more shows in the fall and get the horn line out there. So
really,
yeah.
How cool would that be?
I think it'd be real cool. So whoever's booking the latest festival, give me a call. You know.
There you go. You've got a couple of dates though in honor of Serengeti Drivers coming out. Tell us about.
Yeah, I'm doing a couple dates around the release. June 6th at Eddie's Attic, and June 8th, a place called Mad Life Sound and Stage, a really cool room there in Woodstock. I think everybody will enjoy it.
Tell us a little bit about what we can expect. Is it just going to be you, or are you going to have some guys with you, or what's going on?
Well, at Eddie's, I will start out with just me and a piano. Obviously, that's the classic listening room, and I think people kind of enjoy that at Eddie's.
I agree.
They like to see that kind of intimate thing, but I got a 5-piece band now. That includes me. So by the time we're halfway through that set at Eddie's, I'll have everybody on stage. And then Mad Life on the 8th, that'll be the full band from the beginning. You know.
So 2 totally different
kind
appearances.
of different shows, and they're so close to each other. That's why they got to be different.
Yeah.
And are you going to do any Collective Soul songs, or are you just going to do the album?
I do have a Collective Soul song or 2 possibly on the set list that we've been rehearsing, so we'll see.
Tell me about the title Serengeti Drivers.
Okay, that's it's not reference to. I don't want people to be confused about the sound of the record. It's not necessarily any African
but the pictures.
instruments.
I've been to Africa before, and I was like, when I saw those trees and the picture, I was like, oh, this is awesome. There was some.
It was a dream sequence I was having about 4 years ago where I was wandering in the desert, but I wasn't lost, kind of thing. I felt comfortable. I was just walking in the desert, but I was all alone. And then I'd see friends either in cars, or I even remember seeing the guys in the band in like a tour bus, windows rolled down, kind of cartoon-esque almost. And they'd be waving. I'd be like, oh, yeah, there's Ed and Dean. All right, cool, you know. Nobody would stop. They would just always keep driving. I'd be like, all right, cool, there's my buddies. And then I would just kind of keep walking along. And that was kind of the overall thing I took from the dream when I'd wake up. It was as basic as that. But it was always different people that would be driving by, and almost always musician friends. So that was kind of the start of the dream sequence where I came up with Serengeti Drivers, and the drivers end up being the musicians on the record, and there you go. And that's where that comes from.
Did you ever talk to anybody about what that dream might mean?
I know. I'm sitting here going.
No, but I mean, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know it? Do you know
No,
how to analyze?
I really don't. I
She's
wish
not
I did.
a dream consultant.
I
But
know. I like to think what they are, but I'm never right. So you don't want me to guess.
I don't know. It's definitely something that was going on in my head, because it was a recurring dream. So I don't know.
Well, Johnny plays drums on this album too, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. 4 different drummers. Johnny Rabb, who's Collective Soul's drummer right now, great friend, and he's been awesome to play music with. Shane Evans recorded a couple songs, original Collective Soul. Who else?
yeah, I was.
My
Melissa
buddy
and I were looking
Scott
at the list.
Davison recorded 3 really cool tracks. I recorded 1 drum track. So when you look on that's kind of interesting too. When you look on the credits of who played what, there's an instrument in any song and there's no credit for it. I played it, so I didn't list my credits again. I get tired of seeing my name.
Oh,
sometimes.
come on.
Everyone would be.
I mean, it's on the cover.
That's right.
Right there you go.
That's really cool.
That's pretty cool. You got a nice little key there of what's going on. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about, I know a little bit about your family, but I want to know, you do so many other things, and you're a very charitable person, too. Tell me what else you're up to.
I do enjoy, like, anytime there's a charity that I can help out with, I do enjoy that. And, yeah, I've got 3 boys, 12, 14, and 20 years old. We're kind of in the mix of it all.
You
right
are
now.
in the mix of it all.
Yeah.
Tristan just came home from college, so, like, you can see my beard's growing out. I think I think he stole my. He says he didn't, but I need to go up there and check his room. You know, I can't find my Remington right now.
Where's he at school?
He went to Berry College.
Okay,
2 years. So
In Miami?
Berry is Rome, Georgia.
Oh, that Barry. Okay.
Played soccer there. They all love soccer. So yeah, man, we love going to these Atlanta United games. Had the opportunity to sing national anthem there a couple weeks ago.
You did?
Yeah.
And I think
Oh my God!
It was
Wait,
awesome.
sorry.
I
Hold
enjoyed
on.
it. Go
Hold your thought.
Okay.
Tell me about doing that. That's got to be the ultimate scare fest.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Do you ever get nervous anymore? Well, not if I'm on a rock and roll stage with the band. I'm not getting nervous. I'm just ready to play. But the anthem was a little nerve-wracking, right? There
Because you had 70,000 people there, I'm sure. Yes.
So the sound check was cool. I felt comfortable. Everything sounded good. And then the pregame, we're about to do the national anthem. I sit down, I have my in-ears on, and the supporter section is right behind where you sing and play. And there's like 8,000 people singing and still making noise. I'm like, this does not sound like sound check right now. And then you kind of just have to mentally just kind of focus in on what you're doing and just go through. But by the time I got to Rocket's Red Glare, it was on.
Give us a little bit. Do you mind giving us a little bit?
No, I don't know
Oh, come
about that.
on. Even Meatloaf
It was a
did
late
that
practice
for me.
last night.
Meatloaf did that for me. Just a little bit.
I'll send you the video. We're working on a beautiful edit. I'll send
You're
you
really
the whole.
not going to do it, are you?
I can't.
Oh, darn
Well, I
it.
can't start that song either and not finish it.
Was it just you or was it the band?
It was just me and keyboard.
Keyboard.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a little intimidating.
Did people go nuts when you were done?
I got a lot of great feedback. My idea was to
there.
totally keep that melody the same, not mess with the melody. It's easy to fall in that trap. Oh, let me try to
the gymnastics.
embellish this here and that. I'm like, I want it just basic. And then the interesting part I added was just the chord inversions and the different notes I chose on the piano. So that's the way I went at it.
But you do have video of it?
There's great video of it. And it's
You
almost
promise
done,
you'll
yeah.
send it to me? And then we can intersperse it in this film. I really want to see
Sounds
it.
good. Yeah, we'll do that.
Good for you. And how'd you get asked? Who asked you?
I actually approached them. It was my idea. So
Good for you.
yeah.
I am proud of you for that. I'm sorry I interrupted you,
Oh,
but I'm
no,
like,
no,
that
no,
is a
no.
lifelong thing
all
for
I
somebody, a singer to do that.
I've always enjoyed singing that song
Yeah.
since I was like 13 years old. When I'm at these events and stuff, I've always just
Very precious.
loved singing that song.
Yeah, it's very special. That's so cool.
I was just going to ask you about the United because I remember at Music Midtown, you actually wore a United jersey
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
And I think we maybe even talked about before the show a little bit about just your fandom with them. So it must be really cool to have a soccer team here now that, if your son plays soccer. And
Yeah, it is. Arthur Blank has really knocked it out of the park with the new stadium, with the folks he's hired to run Atlanta United. I mean, we are lucky, and we get to have a brand new team where we can all say, all the people who have moved in Atlanta the last 20 years, all the people that have moved from other cities, all the 20-somethings, we're taking ownership of this team, and it feels good. I mean, the vibe in those games is just. It's off the
It's
charts.
incredible
It
to
is.
watch. I haven't been to a game yet. I
they're
can't
fun.
believe it.
They're really fun. And that's so true because, if you're a baseball fan, football fan, you usually came from somewhere. So you bring your team with you, even though you live here. But when it's ground zero build up, this is our team.
Yeah, I didn't foresee that vibe coming, but then after like midway through last season, I was like, okay, this all makes sense. This is everybody's taking ownership of this team.
Do you know they didn't foresee it because I bought Falcons tickets for the first time ever. I'm a huge Falcons fan since I was a kid, and we got to do a tour of the stadium before it was open. And they were planning for all the soccer games to have that whole upper level covered, and they were talking about that. They were like, "So for soccer, we're not expecting this many fans," and those things have never been lowered, or maybe they were at the first game, but that was it.
Yeah, and then and by last fall, the Falcons are. I mean, I'm a big Falcons fan.
I
too, but
know,
some of those
believe
games
me.
had less than the Atlanta
true.
United
That's
games.
true.
The United, I mean, that's really exciting to me too. Being a Georgia, almost native, that's so exciting.
I did want to ask you, Will, too. You guys are getting ready to go out with Three Doors Down this summer. I think you're kicking off at Chastain, actually. Have you guys talked yet about, anything in particular about the tour or just something we could let people know about from now? What's going on?
We had a production meeting yesterday. It's gonna be awesome. We're looking forward to it. I mean, Collective Soul right now, we are. I hate to sound overconfident, but we're clipping right now. We're strong. When we play live, it's there and it feels really good.
You put on a great live show. I mean, all you guys. I mean, Ed is just like He's like 20.
I know. I don't know when that's going to slow down, and I'm still jumping off of amps and off of risers, and
Yeah, the thing is, you all act like 20
I'm
still.
Right.
40 something years old. I'm not sure.
And
That's kind of funny because my right foot is hurt from jumping off an amp like 2 weeks ago. Like
there you go.
Things are breaking and they're
Things
not
that didn't
supposed to
used
break.
to.
Yeah.
Before it used to like heal that night, but now like
I
2
know,
years
I can't
later-
even jump anymore. I'm afraid to let my feet leave the ground.
It's not healing the same. It's not.
Give it another 10 years. Just wait, I'm telling you. So what else is in the plan for Serengeti Drivers besides these 2 shows for us? I'm excited. How are you going to
Yeah, I mean,
work that in?
Gonna work with Collective Soul all summer, and then I hope to get back. Like I said, I will hope to get back this fall and do a lot more shows.
That's great.
And support it.
Want to help any way we can, so you make sure
Thank
to
you.
let us know.
Y'all,
Seriously.
you guys are helping. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I just love it. It's ear candy. It's just so easy to listen
Wow,
to.
thanks.
It's really great. Your voice is beautiful. I love your voice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you.
they're really solid songs. I mean, like I said, like there's some soul, there's some pop, there's a little bit of the slow those days song. I mean, it's just a cool vibe. Throughout.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it crosses a lot of genres, but everybody's told me you still have a flow through here, even though there's a lot of genres that are displayed on this record. And I can't feel any better about it. All my friends and everybody's just giving me great feedback, so I'm excited.
Are you happy it's
Congratulations.
done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do your kids think of it? That's the real question.
I don't know. They know the songs. I don't know. It's hard to imagine their perspective.
Are they into it at all? Are they musical at all?
Tristan is the oldest. They're all 3 musical. Luke, the youngest, I mean, he jams on drum set. They all play piano. Tristan's playing some shows this summer. He gets behind piano and does vocal, and it's impressive. It's really
You
impressive.
made sure they knew how to play piano, didn't you?
Well, I definitely made him take piano lessons
Yes,
at a young age.
that's great.
Now that Tristan, he hasn't officially had lessons in years. He was probably 14 years old when he stopped doing lessons, but
That's a great.
He
I
plays for
think for any
hours.
kids that you need to give them piano and let them go from there. But piano to read music and all that—that's
Yes.
great.
Once you can read music,
that's standard rules in the Turpin house.
I
You
figured
gotta
so.
have piano lessons.
the foundation.
great.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I love talking to you, and I just am proud of you and excited for you.
Thank you.
It's really
Thank
great.
you, Kaedy.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time too.
Appreciate it, Melissa.